Hey, welcome to the shop. My name is Eric, and I thought we'd have some fun today on going over the top 5 reasons that we're going to see your unit or your machine, or what machines we see, and then when they come in, what are the problems with them. So we're going to start. Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric. Today I thought we'd talk about chainsaw safety. So we're going to start off with number 5 and work our way down to the worst, all right? So I would say number 5 would be miscellaneous crapola, which would be rewinds, the rope broke, or the rewind spring let go, to welding on a deck, fabricating, to welding something back that broke. You know, we do quite a bit of that, whether it be, wire feed or stick welding. And we do fabricate in this shop, so we can make parts if we need to with the torches and welders. So that would be classified as number 5. Alright, so let's go to number 4. Number 4 would be valves out of adjustment. And most of your engines are coming through now with what are termed as overhead valves. And the valves, you have the intake and the exhaust. And they're set up so that when the engine goes around, the exhaust is able to exhaust and the intake same through. But if they start to get a little bit loose, then they start getting out of sync. And it's not if you need to have the valves adjusted, it's when. We do it as a part of our yearly service on, if it's your lawnmower, when we do a complete service on it, that's part of it, is popping the valve covers off and adjusting the valves. And you do need to know the clearances, and you do need to know how to properly set your engine so the piston is top dead center before you start on that side of the valve. If it's a single cylinder, it's one way. If it's a twin V, it's the other way. So that's very important, and that's something that you should be having done on a regular basis. So adjusting the valves, that's number 4. Number 3, most of you guys have got a carburetor on your machine. And what ends up happening is this unit down here, the fuel shutoff, quits working. And this is related to number 1. But what ends up happening is it's run off electromagnetic. And when the key switch is in the on position, it lowers this down and allows the fuel to come into the carburetor. When the key is in the off position, it pops back up and it shuts the fuel off from being able to go into the carburetor, okay? And what ends up happening is, if the machine sits with fuel in the carburetor, it will gump up, it will varnish this to the point of where it won't move freely. And a lot of times, if you just take this off and clean this up and just keep working it so that it's free, that will solve your problem. And the most characteristic thing to look for when it is this issue here is you turn it on and you crank and you crank and you crank and you can't get it to start. You give it a shot of carb cleaner, it pops right off. So it tells you you're not getting fuel to that carburetor, to that system. This is your first culprit to check. Just clean it up, take it off, clean it up, put it back in, and you're on your way. Number 2, proper maintenance. Yes, you heard me right, proper maintenance. If you want something to last, you have to take care of it, right? And a lot of the times what we see are operator error. And everything from hitting something in the yard with a blade to not keeping the deck cleaned off from grass and the deck rotting out on it, to buying it and then 7 years later it's not running that well, and you bring it to us and it's never had an oil change, fuel filters, none of that stuff, or the valves adjusted. You can't beat this stuff into the ground and expect it to last. You know, I know that this day and age it's a throwaway society where we just run it until it's junk and go buy a new one. But would you rather have that extra cash in your pocket and then pay us on a yearly basis to make sure that it's got fresh oil, oil filter, fresh fuel, fuel filter, you know, new plugs. We've gone through the deck on the mowers. We've made sure that the blades are sharpened if they need to be sharpened or replaced. We'll do the proper maintenance for you, but you have to get it to us every year. And part of our service is the valves on the lawnmowers. Snowboards, basically with those girls, you just changing the oil, a fuel filter. We like to put a fuel line, inline shut off if we can. And going back to this here, is if you have a fuel, inline fuel shut off between the tank and the carburetor, if you are going to put it away for a period of time, shut the fuel off and let it run until it runs out of fuel, so you don't have excess fuel sitting in here to varnish up your plunger, okay? So proper maintenance is number 2. If you're not willing to do it, then you need to let us do it. One way or another, you just can't keep running something without, you know, like a vehicle. A vehicle should have an oil change every so many thousand miles based on what the manufacturer recommends, right? And with your tires, if your tires start getting worn and bald, don't you need to get a new set of tires? Yeah. But I've seen people come in with a set of blades that looked like mints, that were so thin and parts were missing off from it, and they want to know why their deck was vibrating, was making a little louder sound than usual. Well, they're missing part of a lawnmower blade. So that brings us down to number 1. Water in the fuel. Yes, water in the fuel is the biggest culprit that keeps our doors open, because whoever invented ethanol fuel must have been thinking of us, because most of that stuff that you have out with small engine stuff that you're using are not meant to run on the ethanol fuel, especially a lot of your older stuff like the chainsaws and weed eaters and that stuff that you still have in your garage. Now, can you use ethanol fuel in your lawnmower to mow your yard? Absolutely. But it's got to be fresh, got to be in an airtight container, and that means in your fuel tank, airtight, not keeping gas for extended periods of time. It used to be fuel would last quite a while, and now you're lucky if you can get 40 to 60 days out of fuel. And I've seen within 30 days have issues. And I've seen even less than that if it has access to get air. So if you get ready to mow your yard, it's the spring of the year, you had a service by us, everything is hunky-dory, the biggest mistake you can do is walk out and grab that gas can that you had filled last year and dump it into that lawnmower and think it's going to be all gravy. Because good chances are that fuel is no good. So when you're storing fuel, don't store it over extended periods of time. If you buy a container for your lawnmower and stuff, at the end of the season, dump it into your vehicle. Put it in something that's going to burn it up versus letting it sit there. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and hopefully it'll be helpful to you. And if you watch some of my other videos, you'll find that I even show you how to when it comes to carburetors and stuff. So if you like what you see, you know, be greatly appreciated if you could subscribe and like and share with your friends. On that note, we'll catch you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate you.